Hello everyone, it's Refresh, and I am here to bring you a battle between these two Aether Revolt Planeswalker decks and the Defeated God Challenge deck from Journey into Nyx. We'll be playing with 3 hero cards, and since I only have one of each, I'm going to be applying them to both of the decks. The first one is the Harvester, which will let them draw a card, then discard a card each turn. The Explorer, which will let them play an additional land on each turn, and the Vanquisher, which will give them an increased starting hand size by 1 and an increased maximum hand size by 1. We'll be playing on normal difficulty the first time with 3 Rollicking Throngs, and then difficult difficulty the next time with 4 Rollicking Throngs. We'll start with 8 cards apiece. Ajani draws a Verdant Automaton Plains, Inspiring Roar Plains, Deadeye Harpooner, Gearper Guide, and Ajani's Comrade. The lands here are pretty bad given the hand, so we'll go ahead and discard and then redraw with our free mulligan. We have the Gearper Guide, Ajani Valiant Protector, Forest, Inspiring Roar, Armcraft Judge, Lifecraft Cavalry, Forest, and Plains. It's a little bit better of a hand. Not a great start, but we'll go ahead and keep it. Tezzeret gets a Submerged Boneyard, Tezzeret's Touch, Augmenting Automaton, Swamp, Implement of Examination Island, and Pendulum of Patterns. We'll go ahead and keep this as well. So turn 1, we'll play the Plains and the Forest here, and we'll play the Island and the Swamp here. We'll tap both and play a Pendulum of Patterns, which will enter the battlefield and give us 3 life, taking us to 23. And then we will pass the turn to Xenagos. Xenagos will play the top 2 cards, which is first an Ecstatic Piper. When Ecstatic Piper enters the battlefield, Xenagos Ascended attacks this turn if able. And then we'll also play Xenagos Scorn. Xenagos Ascended gains trample until end of turn, attacks this turn if able. Xenagos will be attacking, hitting us for 6, taking us down to 17. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Ajani will draw a Ajani's Aid. Tezzeret will draw a Windkin Raiders, and we will discard the Augmenting Automaton and the Ajani Valiant Protector. We'll untap. We'll draw. We've drawn a Tranquil Expanse here and a Tezzeret Simulacrum here. We'll play the Submerged Boneyard tapped, and we'll play the Tranquil Expanse and tapped and the Forest, and then we will play for 3 mana the Gearper Guide over here, and we will do nothing with Tezzeret. And then we'll pass a turn to Xenagos. Xenagos will untap. Xenagos will play the top 2 cards. The first one being a Wild Mayonnaise. It's a 3/1 first striker. And the second one being a Ecstatic Piper. When it enters the battlefield, like again, Xenagos will attack. Xenagos will hit us for 6, taking us down to 11. And then it'll be our turn. We'll use the Harvester. Ajani will draw a Forest, and Tezzeret will draw a Swamp. We will discard the Windkin Raiders, and we will discard the Inspiring Roar. We'll untap. We'll draw. Ajani draws a Ajani's Comrade, and Tezzeret draws a Bastion Inventor. We'll play the Swamp. We'll play the Forest. We'll tap out here and play a Lifecraft Cavalry as a 4/4. We'll tap 3 here and play Tezzeret Simulacrum here, and then we will attack one of the Rollicking Throngs with the Gearper Guide, defeating it. And then we'll pass turn to Xenagos. Xenagos untaps. Xenagos will play the top 2 cards, the first one being Impulsive Return. Return 2 cards named Ecstatic Piper from Xenagos' graveyard to the battlefield. At the beginning of combat this turn, Impulsive Return deals damage to each player equal to the number of revelers on the battlefield. There are no Ecstatic Pipers in the battlefield, and Xenagos' strike will also deal 4 damage to each player. So we'll be taking 8 damage plus twice the number of revelers, which is 10. So we'll be taking 18 damage, and we will perish immediately. And that is the end of that. If that was normal mode, then I am afraid of what hard mode will look like. We'll be right back with hard mode. Alright, we're back for game 2 in hard mode. With hard mode, we'll be playing against 4 Rollicking Throngs, but everything else should be about the same. We'll go ahead and draw 8. Ajani drew an 8 from the Cowl, Verdant Automaton, Renegade Map, Plains, Gearper Guide, Silgiver Elite, Plains, and Ajani's Comrade. That is not a great start, but we'll keep it because we can play some of the cards in the Renegade map will help us get to what we need. Tezzeret has a Windkin Raiders, Island, Swamp, Tezzeret's Betrayal, Implement of Extraction, Submerged Boneyard, and Island. It's a bit of a slow start, but I don't think we can afford to pitch this one as well, so we'll keep that. Go ahead and start with both of the planes, tapping one of the planes for a Renegade map tapped. We will play the Submerged Boneyard and an island here. The Submerged Boneyard will enter the battlefield tapped, and then we will go to Xenagos' turn. He'll play the top 2 cards, the first one being Impulsive Destruction. Each player may sacrifice an artifact or enchantment. Impulsive Destruction deals 3 damage to each player who didn't sacrifice a permanent this way. We can only sacrifice a Renegade map, which we really can't afford to sacrifice right now because it's our only green source. So we won't sacrifice. We'll take 6 and go to 14. Cast the second card, which is a Pharaoh's Band Revelers. When Pharaoh's Band Revelers leaves the battlefield, each player draws a card. It's fine. We will use the Harvester at the end of the turn. Tezzeret will draw a Foundry Assembler. Ajani will draw an Injured Eremite, which we will promptly discard. And we will also discard the Windkin Raiders. Alright, we'll untap. We'll draw. Ajani draws a Plains. Tezzeret draws a Implement of Examination. We'll go ahead and play the Swamp and the Island. We'll tap and sacrifice the Renegade map for a Forest, which we'll put in our hand. We'll shuffle. We will play the Forest and the Plains. We'll tap 3 of these to play a Silkweaver Elite. When it enters the battlefield, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, draw a card. We'll draw a Forest. On this side, we can't really do much but play an Implement of Examination, so we will. And then we'll pass the turn to Xenagos. Xenagos will play the topmost card, which is a Wild Mayonnaise. And then we'll play a Xenagos' Strike. We'll take 8 damage to go down to 6 life. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Ajani will draw an Unbridled Growth and will throw out the Verdant Automaton. Tezzeret will draw a Bastion Inventor and will discard the Bastion Inventor. We'll untap. We'll draw. Ajani draws an Ajani's Comrade. Tezzeret draws an island. We'll play the island. We'll play the Forest. We'll tap out here to play an Ajani's Comrade and a Ghirapur Guide. We'll tap out here, play Tezzeret's Betrayal, blowing up the Wild Mayonnaise to get us 6 life to go to 12. And we'll also search up Tezzeret, Master of Metal, and put it in our hand. We'll shuffle. And then we'll go to Tezzeret's turn. Tezzeret will cast the top 2 cards, the first one being Impulsive Charge. At the beginning of combat this turn, all Revelers gain haste until end of turn and attack this combat if able. And he'll also cast the Impulsive Charge again. It's the same card. So the Revelers will all attack if this turn, if they are able, and they are. We have 4 Rollicking Throngs and a Pharaoh's Band Revelers attacking. We can block 2 Rollicking Throngs and a Gang block total to kill them, and we'll take 6 damage to go back down to 6. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester again. Ajani will draw a Forest. Tezzeret will draw a Tezzeret's Touch. We will discard Tezzeret, Master of Metal, and we will discard Ajani's Comrade. And then we'll untap. We'll draw. Ajani draws an Ajani's Comrade. Tezzeret will draw an Ornithopter. We'll play the Forest. We'll tap these 5 to play Aid from the Cowl. We'll tap Unbridled Growth to put it on the Forest. And we'll sacrifice Unbridled Growth to draw a card, which will be a Plains. We'll play the Plains. On this side, we'll play Tezzeret's Touch on the Implement of Examination, and we'll also play an Ornithopter. We will attack the Pharaoh's Band Revelers with the Implement of Examination. We'll attack a Rollicking Throng with the Ghirapur Guide, and we'll attack another Rollicking Throng with the Ajani's Chosen and the Silkweaver Elite, which will kill all 3 of them. We'll draw a card each. Ajani will draw a Narnam Renegade, and Tezzeret will draw a Pendulum of Patterns. Go ahead and cast the Pendulum of Patterns now to gain 3 life to go back up to 9. And then at the end of the turn, Aid from the Cowl triggers off the discarded Unbridled Growth and will reveal the top card. It is a Ridgescale Tusker. It will enter the battlefield and will put +1/+1 counters on each of the other creatures I control. And then we will pass the turn to Xenagos. Xenagos will play the top 2 cards, the first one being Impulsive Return. Return 2 cards named Ecstatic Pepper from Xenagos' graveyard to the battlefield at the beginning of combat this turn. Impulsive Return deals damage to each player equal to the number of Revelers on the battlefield. There are no Ecstatic Pipers in the battlefield, so that has no effect. The second card is Dance of Flames is an enchantment. Whenever a Reveler attacks, Dance of Flames deals 1 damage to each player. We'll leave that on the battlefield. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Ajani will draw a Tranquil Expanse. Tezzeret will draw a Tezzeret Simulacrum. We will discard the Tranquil Expanse, and we will discard the Implement of Examination. And then we'll untap. Then we'll draw. Ajani draws on Plains. Tezzeret draws an Augmenting Automaton. We will cast Tezzeret's Betrayal on Xenagos because he is alone. He will be defeated. And with that, the Aether Revolt Planeswalker decks defeat the Xenagos Defeat a God Challenge deck from Journey into Nyx on hard mode, but not on regular mode for some reason. But we'll take it. If you saw any rules errors or misplays, let me know in the comments below and I'll try to be more wary of those in the future. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more such videos, hit subscribe. I'll be back with reviews of these 2 decks in particular in the future. Until then, this is Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.